I forgot I need to record this. Okay, yeah, so we're now recording CNCF. Yeah, the CNCF project OSM is starting a community call. I forgot to record earlier. We're going by the CNCF code of conduct. Please refer to that if you have any questions. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about this FIPS item here. To catch her a bit for some context, FIPS is a regulatory kind of specification for specifically types of encryption protocols within a system. And we've had FIPS/FedRAMP compliance on our roadmap for a little while. And we have a set of ideas and understandings of what that compliance with that feature might look like, but want to talk to, well, first turn over to the community, specifically you, Connor, if you have any questions about that or any specific use cases that you're looking to unlock with FIPS. We always love getting input from the community. So could you shed some light on what you're looking for with FIPS compliance?
Yeah, so for my use case, it's part of a project to secure FedRAMP High compliance. And one of the many controls within FedRAMP High is to have end-to-end FIPS encryption, and that includes for like pod-to-pod communication. So we're going to be using a service mesh to provide mutual TLS, and all encryption within a FedRAMP environment needs to be FIPS validated or use FIPS validated cryptographic modules.
Okay, gotcha. And that is for the control plane and data plane. You said all the traffic system, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So like one option we're looking at is like Tetrate has a Istio build that uses boring SSL for Envoy. You know, but Istio, like at this rate, is a lot more than what we really need, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we're kind of looking at OSM and potential options there.
Thank you for that. And that needs to be encrypted. Yeah, and so good news is that is kind of in keeping with what we have researched and what we understand the customer need to be. So we're already doing some work on that. As far as potential options, so we are aware of Envoy support for boring SSL mode. There's a simple flag you can turn on to enable boring SSL cryptographic modules. There's also the possibility of recompiling Envoy with any number of SSL extensions or OpenSSL replacements. And so looking in that direction as well. A lot of the work that we're kind of evaluating right now is going to come in is making sure that the OSM control plane is FIPS compliant, right? So as a service mesh, OSM communicates with all the different Envoy proxies in your mesh under FIPS /FedRAMP compliance standards. That communication also has to be using FIPS compliant cryptographic modules. And the default OpenSSL package release is not FIPS compliant. So that's where a lot of the research is coming on our end. It's been done before as far as, you know, Envoy is a common proxy. There are FIPS compliant builds for Envoy out there. Some customers we were talking to actually already have a pre-compiled Envoy with a FIPS compliant cryptographic module already on hand. The key for us is to try to make sure our control plane is FIPS compliant as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So are you saying that you've had like users of OSM deploy it with an Envoy sidecar that is FIPS compliant?
We've had folks looking into that. Yes, I have to double check with our PMs to get an update on that, but we do have people who've been looking in that direction, because we allow you to bring your own, like when you can set up OSM, you can change the image of the Envoy sidecar that runs. We don't provide any guarantees around how that might work. So you want to test this in a staging environment or a testing environment, of course. But you absolutely can compile your own Envoy and bring that into your mesh in order to get that FIPS, one part of that FIPS compliance checkbox.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Then do you have like an idea of timeline for the research when it comes to like the control plane side of it?
Yeah, good question. So generally speaking, for context, OSM has a quarterly release cycle. We have one minor release according to December every quarter. So that means that V1.2 of OSM is going to be cut around beginning of July. So what that means is that we're in the midst of our planning and scoping processes for V1.3 right now. That's what's going to be, we're going to be working on this next quarter, July, August, September, and releasing around October. So this sounds like something that, you're not the only one who's asked for FIPS compliance. There have been several customers asking for it. And you've given us a good understanding of your use cases here. Should FIPS make it onto our roadmap for this next quarter, you can expect that functionality to be released around October or so.
Okay.
For V1.3.
Makes sense.
And so if it doesn't make it into that release, then and it gets to the next release, then it'll be on October, around December, January for that next V1.4 release. Are you aware of our? So we actually published a version of our roadmap on GitHub. Are you aware of that?
No, but I can definitely go check that out. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I can show it right here. So if you look on OSM and you go to our project board, this is our kind of dev roadmap. It's our way of tracking projects that are work that's in progress. And because you're open source project, this is all public for folks to take a look at. So there is an issue for FIPS compliancy. And one of the best ways to let us know what's important to you as potential OSM users or any other existing customers who might be watching this recording. One of the best ways to let us know what it is that you're wanting from our dev team is to create an issue that's not already there or interact with existing issues. So you see we've got one thumbs up here. Like the more thumbs up that we see, the more we see, hey, this is something the community is really wanting us to bring, and that gives it a higher chance of being prioritized. So interaction here is going to be one of the best ways for you to get involved and to keep track of kind of what we're working on and features you can expect in upcoming releases.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions around FIPS?
I don't have any other questions for FIPS, but I do have a few other non-FIPS related questions.
Sure. Fire away.
All right. So these are from a colleague of mine who had trouble getting in, so I'm just going to ask him on his behalf. He wanted to make sure that like OSM is considered production ready. I assume so because it's over version 1, right?
That's correct. Yes, we are production ready.
Okay. And then what kind of support is there for non-Kubernetes workloads? So that'd be like bring VMs into the mesh.
Yeah, great question. So this is still diverse workloads, non-Kubernetes workloads is still an area of active research and development. There's been a lot of change in the ecosystem when it comes to things like multi-cluster, when it comes to VMs and diverse workloads. And so we're exploring a couple of different directions for that. One such direction is integrating with Spire, which is kind of a certificate authority trust domain product in the CNCF for identity attestation to try to get workloads onto the mesh. Let me ask a clarifying question. Is the main concern there just MTLS within the mesh, or is it traffic routing and traffic policy, kind of help me understand the use case a bit here.
It'd probably start with MTLS and then continue to, mature from there over time.
Makes sense. I'll go ahead and put this under diverse workloads. Okay. So the MTLS piece is kind of easy. You can depending on your trust domain setup and your PKI at whatever organization you're running this in. You can give a web server a certificate that's within that has the same root as whatever is in your mesh, and Envoy will be able to talk to whether or not your VM has an Envoy sidecar. And then there's other stuff around other stuff around getting that VM in the service catalog, things of that nature. But it's something I just had a conversation with a colleague a couple of weeks ago about this. But this is something that we've been talking about heavily, and we are getting really close to a good design to start implementing. And once it's designed, it's not too much longer until we implement it. So actively exploring that. If you've got any comments or questions or things you really want to see added there, or features you want to make sure we keep in mind, please drop them in the Slack channel or in the try to suggest in the community doc or any one of those ways. GitHub issue.
Okay, sounds good. And it looks like the last question he had was around which component handles CA activities, or if there are other solutions leveraged outside of the mesh for CA activities.
For CA activities, I'm assuming you just mean like issuing and validating certificates?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So there are kind of two different parts of OSM that handle certificates. One is the actual issuing of a certificate based on a certificate authority, and the other is the validating of certificates with an actual workload traffic. The first part, issuing the certificate, that comes from the OSM control plane. So we have 3 different certificate provider options. You can either use our homegrown certificate manager named Tresor, and that will store your certificates as Kubernetes secrets. You can use Cert Manager, which is a very well-known, well-supported active community project kind of in the cloud native landscape for certificate management. It has a variety of support for a variety of different providers and issuers you can use to issue certificates in cluster. And then we also have support for HashiCorp Vault. Vault has PKI engine. You can get certificates directly from Vault. So we support all 3 of those. And then, once the control plane, the OSM control plane talks to those providers to generate certificates for your workloads, then the Envoy sidecars have configuration available to see the incoming requests, try different certificate authorities that you've got configured in a pool, and if it works, great, decrypt the traffic, move on. If it doesn't, then reject the traffic. We're in some really exciting news. We're actively closing the loop on a feature that should land in part of it landed 1.2, part of it landed 1.3 around certificate rotation and having custom resources to manage your OSM certificates and how those work together all your control plane and a CRD in Kubernetes. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good.
Awesome.
I think that's all I had.
Okay, yeah, and we are right at time. So I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Apologies again for some of the technical drama. Being an engineer doesn't exempt you from dealing with rote computing sometimes, but it's a pleasure to have everybody here. Our next community call, let me pull up a calendar right quick so I can see what the date will be. Our next community call should be on the 12th of July. So hopefully by then we should have our regular meeting link fixed then, and hope to see everybody on that call. Thank you all, and have a good rest of your weeks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.